What's going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Schneid. We're live. We're drafting today, but it's NFL cutdown day. Big day, obviously. A lot of moves, a lot of surprises. Like I said last night, there's going to be some big surprises. Maybe we'll go through some exposure stuff if necessary, if it makes sense. But let's dig right into it. We got a lot to get into with the draft as well. So we're going to go through. I'm going to pull up the NFL.com kind of cut tracker team by team. We'll talk through a few things. We're going to go through every single team, but we'll go quick because I don't want to spend a crazy amount of time on this. Everybody knows the news, but maybe I can give a take or two on, how I think that kind of, evens things out. Anthony Brown, Ben DiNucci, you start with the Buffalo Bills, obviously. Frank Gore had a big game in the final preseason game, so I could see somebody giving him a chance. I'm positive that the Bills want to put him on their practice squad. So we'll see if anybody, wants to put in a waiver claim. I doubt it. He probably ends up on the Buffalo Bills practice squad. Same with a few of these wide receivers. No one that really matters, especially Terrell Shavers, Justin Shorter would be on that list. One-time punter, I believe, in college, Zach Davidson. I think he was a quarterback as well. But either way, those are a bunch of, just practice squad type guys. I doubt anybody looks to claim them. But I think that's probably what the Bills are looking to do. So we're only going to go through offensive players. Don't have a crazy amount of time. Like I said, I don't want to dig too much into this. Mike White was a bit of a shock. Skylar Thompson obviously wins that backup job. Mike White, maybe practice squad. Same thing with Chris Brooks, maybe McFarland, but none of these guys are really going to matter. Eric Ezukanma, probably practice squad guy. One of the twins, Jaden Janke, again, potential practice squad. That's about it. Nothing major there. Obviously, OBJ starting on the pup. Not a huge surprise. Not that I thought that Odell Beckham Jr. was going to be a factor at all this year anyways. So I guess he moves up on some people's list. Malik Washington, I'm talking about. He moves up on some people's list, I suppose. Not really mine. He was already on there. He still is on there. And I certainly will be drafting Malik Washington at the same clip that I was realistically. So no real change there in my opinion. We'll scroll down to the Patriots. Bailey Zappi's finally gone, but probably again, practice squad. Kevin Harris was a surprise. Obviously they want to put him on the practice squad, I'm sure, but that might be a running back that some teams can look at to claim. I like Kevin Harris a lot coming out of South Carolina. I think he runs the ball really hard. I think if you put him on the Dallas Cowboys, he could honestly potentially be the best running back on that team. So that's Kevin Harris is a guy that maybe someone would look at adding. We'll see. Kawan Baker, former 7th round pick. Matt Landers, about 7 feet tall. So he's again some practice squad guys. Mitchell Wilcox, no one else realistically here that we could see getting added. New York Jets, Martinez and Peasley were kind of competing, it seems, for I guess that third quarterback, so probably practice squad. Xavier Valladay was a running back I really liked in college. He looked really good catching some balls out of the backfield. So again, practice squad, maybe gets a shot. Doubt anyone would want to put in a claim for him. No one else really worth talking about here. We're down to the AFC North. Who do we got? Malik Cunningham, one-time quarterback, practice squad. Russell Gage, after that injury, is never really the same again. Anthony Miller's never been able to catch back on with another team. John Kelly, maybe, again, practice squad pretty much for sure. And that's what's going to happen with most of these guys. A lot of people just write them off as soon as they're, cut, but they're not exactly cut. They're put on waivers. And then a lot of them are put on waivers. Depends if they have 4 years of service or not. The rules are the rules, whatever. We don't need to dig into that. But, a lot of them are destined for practice squads on the same team that they just got cut from. So let's all keep that in mind. Cincinnati Bengals, Logan Woodside, who played basically all preseason. Again, probably your practice squad quarterback. Rocky Lombardi is gone and done. They brought him in to take a couple knees, which was pretty pointless, but whatever. Hakeem Butler, the UFL darling. He'll obviously definitely, I think we could put him on the practice squad. He's at least earned that. It'll make him more money than playing in the UFL again this year. Maybe like CFL might not be the worst idea for Hakeem Butler, but either way, there's a place for him somewhere. Jackson Carmer is the big surprise here, but that's obviously not something we're digging into too much. Trey Hill as well. But either way, I won't dig into my Bengals too much because we could go a little too long. The Browns, obviously, Nick Chubb starts on the pup. No surprise there whatsoever to me. They released Deontay Foreman. Honestly, I thought Deontay Foreman would have ended up with the Cowboys. He's a former Texas Longhorn running back, ran for 2,000 yards in Texas, in college. I think speaking of the Cowboys, I think if you put Deontay Foreman on the Cowboys, he is the best running back on that team. And it's realistically not particularly close at all. So that's a player that I think will go somewhere. He will be on an NFL roster, I think, in week 1. Even if there's an injury week 1, something like that, if the Browns put him on their practice squad, someone's going to sign him off their practice squad at some point. It's only a matter of time. So, anyone that has some Deontay Foreman shares, it's still not a dead roster spot to me, but certainly not looking good, that's for sure. But I think, the Cowboys should swoop in and potentially pick up Deontay Foreman, or just sign him directly off the practice squad without putting in the waiver and just take a risk on that, roll the dice that nobody claims him, and just sign him off their practice squad. But we'll see. Matt Landers again here. That's 2 times we've seen Matt Landers, but he'll be on somebody's practice squad, I'd imagine. No one else worth talking about. The Pittsburgh Steelers, John Reese Plumlee was returning kicks and playing quarterback. That was a little bit odd, but whatever. Practice squad, maybe. LaMichael Pirine was getting some run. Nothing really worth talking about here. Quez Watkins, that one's a little interesting, but not a shocker. Maybe that's a player that some teams will look at. Certainly, again, signing him off of the team's practice squad. If he ends up on the Pittsburgh Steelers practice squad, then that's an easy route to take. But, we've seen him in the NFL. Theoretically, he can be on a roster. So that's potentially a player. Not that there's any fantasy value there. Jawar Jordan, interesting. That's practice squad, obviously. Noah Brown, he'll move somewhere. He'll get a shot to catch on with somewhere else. That's almost for sure. Andrew Beck is a little bit shocking. They've been carrying a fullback, but I think they have somebody else now besides Nick Bowden too. I can't remember, but either way, I think they have another fullback on the roster. So Noah Brown probably catch on somewhere. I'm sure he's been drafted by some people who got boxed out of Houston Texans stacks, but I have 0% personally. Wasn't really for me, but we'll see if he catches on. Colts, we got Evan Hull was a bit of a shocker. I definitely have a few shares of Evan Hull. So that hurts me a little bit. Again, practice squad. I don't think anyone will look to pick him up. Probably don't sign him to, off their practice squad either, but he's probably going to be on the Colts practice squad most likely. Again, doesn't mean he's dead completely. It's just going to take a lot for him to get back on the roster and then get into games and make a difference in fantasy football. So definitely not someone that you want to be clicking at all. Not that anybody realistically has been or was for the last month or so, but there you go. Nothing else worth really talking about here. Greg Ward again, so he's cut off 2 teams. CJ Beathard, to be honest with you, if I was the Packers, I would have waited. I would not be sending a 7th round pick for Malik Willis. CJ Beathard is a better backup quarterback than Malik Willis, no question in the world. I would rather have sent a 7th round pick to the Jaguars for CJ Beathard than, Malik Willis. Sure, if you're going for some youth and you think there's something there, I guess. But realistically, if anything happens to Jordan Love, I'd bet my bottom dollar that they do not end up starting Malik Willis after a couple weeks of seeing what he can do. So CJ Beathard, if I was the Packers, that's somewhere I would look personally. EJ Perry's been around, former Brown quarterback. He's been around for a little bit, maybe a practice squad guy. Elijah Cooks, they liked last year. He played pretty well. Definitely destined for the practice squad. And that's about it. We'll see what happens with the rest of these guys. Big body runner, Hassan Haskins, practice squad most likely. Kyle Phillips, everybody's preseason darling for a couple of years there, but really nothing there. And then we'll see what happens. Nothing else to really talk about. Denver Broncos, Samaje Perine, obviously. All right, the Broncos are a big hot topic, obviously. Hot topic. So Samaje Perine gets released. That's not a surprise at all to me. I'm 0% Samaje Perine. Everybody's worried about where he's going to go. Which backfield is he going to ruin? Is he going to ruin the Bengals? Is he going to ruin the Cowboys, right? Who's he going to, steal carries from or steal third down work from? If you're realistic, if you're worried about Samaje Perine, you shouldn't have been drafting Chase Brown or Rico Dowdle. You shouldn't have been drafting those players if you were worried that Samaje Perine is going to come in and steal all their work. That's just a little ridiculous to me. I will not be drafting Samaje Perine. I will not draft Chase Brown or Rico Dowdle. That's for sure. Deontay Foreman coming into either of those teams is a bigger threat to me than Samaje Perine personally. So we'll see where he ends up. We'll see. And then obviously Tim Patrick is a big one. I'm 0% Tim Patrick. I did not want to draft him. I'd rather take a chance on those younger guys. We talked about it a little bit last night. Devon Vele, I like him. I think that was the decision. It was Vele or Tim Patrick. They went with the youth. That's the correct choice, in my opinion. So I don't. I got 32 beat writers popped up here on the Twitter machine. So if anything pops off while we're talking, I'll dig right into it. But not too worried about Tim Patrick. I think I said it last night too. Good chances he ends up with Detroit. And I think that's where he's going. He's getting signed to their practice squad with the thoughts that they bring him up to the main roster. So that's a good call by me, I guess. Will Jordan Humphrey, people are concerned about, I suppose. So all those other wide receivers get a bump. The Marvin Mims shares are back to life. Sutton obviously was fine regardless. And then, some of the other pass catchers, I guess, get a little bit of a boost, but it's still the Broncos at the end of the day. But there you go. There's some big cuts. Undrafted free agent Blake Watson, who I am a big, big fan of, made this team, which is good to see. I drafted a little bit of Blake Watson in the pre-draft best ball in the big board. He made the team. He'll probably be returning kicks and get a little bit of run, but he's a little bit buried as well. But Daddy, what's shaking, man? I ain't worried about Perine. Yeah, man. Why are we worried about Samaje fucking Perine in the year 2024? Like, he's a 9-year vet. He, the only reason he got so much work is another reason. And Putt Daddy, we were talking about Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris last night. Another reason why I like Jaylen Warren a lot is Russell Wilson in 2-minute drills and in hurry up offense kind of situations is the dump off king. Just dumps it off to the running back. That's how Perine racked up so many catches, was just getting dump offs from Russell Wilson, trying to get in field goal range realistically before the quarter ended or the half ended or whatever it is. Or half, not quarter, but you get what I'm getting at. So that's another reason why I like Jaylen Warren that much more. But there's your Broncos. Down to the Chiefs, Ian Book, Oludokun, sure, Amani Bailey. Deneric Prince is the one that hurts. That's realistically the only cut down day casualty that really hurts my exposure personally. I think I'm at like 8% Deneric Prince in Best Ball Mania. I really wish I caught on to me taking too many shares earlier, because I got a little click heavy on that RB2 in Kansas City. And again, he probably goes to the practice squad and he probably makes his way to the active roster at some point or some multiple points throughout the season. So I'm not just saying that Deneric Prince is a complete dead space and he's going to get you 0 all year. There's a chance that he's still going to be able to contribute. Again, it's just going to take a lot more. If they find out that Carson still just ain't it, then maybe they bring up Deneric Prince and he gets some run. We'll see. Or something happens, an injury, whatever. But definitely going to the practice squad. That's almost certain. Again, like a lot of these guys, but we'll see. Definitely not a 0. I obviously won't be clicking any more generic prints, but yeah, that one hurt a little bit. I won't lie. That's the only one that really hurts me. Some other quality, practice squad guys. Obviously, Kadarius Toney, to me, not too worried about it. He's probably going to land somewhere as a punt returner, kick returner, gadget guy sort of thing. Former first round talent, first round pick. But I'm not drafting Kadarius Toney anywhere for any reason. If he pops off, wonderful, but that's just not going to happen. So moving down, Raiders. Peterman, Carter Bradley, nothing to really talk about here realistically. Yeah, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. The Chargers, Spiller gone changes nothing to me realistically. Kamani Vidal is still obviously made the roster. He's on the team. Cornelius Johnson is gone. That's a Michigan guy that Harbaugh liked. But yeah, this realistically, the cuts don't change anything for me. Kamani Vidal was still that RB3 with upside if there's an injury. So we'll see how that kind of plays out long term. Donald Parham, if you're drafting Donald Parham, then yikes. But he's off the team too. So nothing really to see here. There's nothing that really changes for me personally. But I guess Spiller, might give you a little more, kind of gumption with Kamani Vidal, I suppose. Dallas Cowboys, Snoop Connor's gone. Malik Davis, so probably practice squad. Royce Freeman, he probably won't be back. I still think that this is Rico Dowdle, and then I guess Zeke. If Deontay Foreman comes in, I'll be looking to draft Deontay Foreman if that should happen with time. You know what I mean? So if time permits, sort of a thing with Best Ball Mania. But I would draft Deontay Foreman if he got signed by the Cowboys. I don't think this changes anything for me. Royce Freeman, I guess, helps more Zeke to me than it does for Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle's still my guy in this backfield personally. Jalen Cropper has been doing well in preseason, but he goes to the practice squad almost certainly. That's about it. Nothing else to see here. Giants, Joshua Kelly, sure. Allen Robinson, nothing to see here. Yeah, there's really nothing there. Eagles, TDP, Tyrion Davis-Price looked good in the preseason. Obviously, they're going to try to keep him on the practice squad. I don't think anyone would go after him. This is his second or third team that he's been on. So, good practice squad player. He looked good in the preseason to me. So we'll see what happens there. Paris Campbell, that obviously with the trade from Washington with John Dotson, that completely, kicks Paris Campbell to the curb more or less. So no shocker there. John Ross, that's fine. People probably were drafting a little bit of Paris Campbell at some point over the summer. I have 0% personally, but I'm sure some people have some shares of Paris Campbell where he was getting some buzz as that kind of slot receiver in the Kellen Moore offense. But probably practice squad, we'll see. Nothing to see at tight end. Washington Commanders, handsome Sam Hartman moves to the practice squad most likely. Chris Rodriguez, again, practice squad guy. Marcus Rosemary-Jacksaint, practice squad. I think Martavis Bryant is pretty much just done. Cole Turner, wow, that hurts. He moves probably to the practice squad unless someone wants to take a chance on him, but that's a little bit of a surprise, I suppose. So a few practice squad players, nothing changes. Chicago Bears, nothing to see here. Colin Johnson, wow. He really played really well in the preseason, a few of those preseason games. Obviously, I would imagine they want to keep him on the practice squad, but I actually thought Colin Johnson was going to make this team with what he did in the preseason, but okay, that's fine. I don't think he'll really garner much interest, if I'm being honest, but I thought he did enough to make this team. So, yeah, other than that, nothing to see here. Detroit Lions. Jake Fromm, Nate Sudfeld, obviously Hendon Hooker's the number 2 here. One of or both make your practice squad. That's cool. Nothing to see here. Bam Knight, Zonovan Knight, practice squad. Javelin Goodry, not sure why he's here. Maybe he's playing a little wide receiver, but whatever. Dries Fountain, Caden Davis. So this is good news for, oh man, what's his name? There's a wide receiver, Isaiah Williams from Illinois. Didn't get drafted. Casey Washington, his teammate at Illinois, did get drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, and he also made that Atlanta team. So that's a name that I've clicked once or twice, Casey Washington. But Isaiah Williams has really showed some juice in the preseason. You know, he might have a shot at being that wide receiver 3. He's just got to beat out Khalif Raymond, who's pretty steady Eddie. Like, he's been in the league a long time, and he does a lot of good things, but clearly he beat out, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Doris Fountain, Caden Davis, beat out all these guys, Tom Kennedy even, and I'm talking about Isaiah Williams here, but also Khalif Raymond a little bit, who is the wide receiver 3 there. But, if you're boxed out and you needed to throw a dart, Isaiah Williams, I think you could do a lot worse. So I'm not saying draft Isaiah Williams. I'm saying, if you got boxed out, if you're throwing out a Hail Mary in the 18th, 20th round on DraftKings, I think you could do worse than Isaiah Williams personally. So that's an interesting one. The Packers, that was a wild one. A.J. Dillon, injury reserve for the season, looks like. I think there's some confusion there, if I'm being honest. I'm not sure if it's 100% he's out for the season. So we'll see how that kind of shakes out, but he was not a good click regardless. One player that I think is worth monitoring and potentially thinking about. My work phone's ringing here. Give me 2 seconds. Definitely a scam call, I'd imagine. Doesn't usually ring this late at night. But A.J. Dillon's gone. Marshawn Lloyd is not on the PUP. So that's big news for Marshawn Lloyd and Marshawn Lloyd drafters. Obviously, I've got a fair amount of shares, about 9% Marshawn Lloyd. But obviously it's wheels up a little bit for Josh Jacobs. But the player that I think is worth monitoring, Emmanuel Wilson. Is it Emmanuel, I think? Emmanuel Wilson, they're I guess, running back 2 right now. He's a guy that I clicked a few times. I have about 4% in the big board. So pre-NFL draft, I have about, a few shares of Emmanuel Wilson. I think that's his name. If I'm getting his name wrong, I feel real bad. But either way, he's going to be playing on this team. So that's worth a last round click potentially. If we see maybe Marshawn Lloyd just can't get healthy, right? Maybe it keeps lingering, because it has been all preseason and it's obviously bleeding a little bit into the season. It would have been really bad if he was on the PUP, but it's still clearly bleeding into the regular season a little bit. So that makes Wilson, worth looking at. At the very least, he's RB3 on this team. So not going to be a complete zero, but there would be some things that have to happen to get him on the field. And we saw him on the field last year. That was why I drafted him in the offseason there, because I felt like they trusted him and they liked him enough to give him a shot. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. But that was an interesting bit of a turn of events and a bit of a surprise for the Green Bay Packers to just, we'll see if that's actually what it is. If he misses the entire season, we'll see. But yeah, that was an interesting one. Nothing really to see here for the wide receivers. No real problems there. Some practice squad guys. Moving down, Minnesota Vikings, Dwayne McBride, Kene Nwangwu. So I guess this is all good stuff for my Ty Chandler shares, right? My crazy amount of Ty Chandler shares with Nwangwu and McBride, Myles Gaskin, all moving to either the practice squad or other teams. That's good for my shares there. Nothing to really see here at wide receiver or tight end. So yeah, that's cool. NFC South, Carlos Washington, Heineke is off this team, I believe, or did he make it? There's talk, trade candidate, I think. I guess Heineke's the backup here, most likely. Flournoy with a catch. Sorry, just going to check the beat writers, make sure nothing crazy happened here Move on from Tim Patrick. Yep. We'll get to the Blake Corum stuff in a second here. There we go. Colby Parkinson basically looks like he's the starter, which I think we kind of already knew. I've been drafting Colby Parkinson like he is the starting tight end for the LA Rams, but either way, we'll get to that in a little bit. Back to the Falcons. Nothing really to see here. Yeah, nothing to see here. Not too worried about that. The Panthers, Mike Boone, Dylan Johnson. Yeah, just realistically changes nothing. Terrace Marshall will hopefully he ends up somewhere. I was a huge believer in Terrace Marshall a couple of years ago, but obviously he's just not that guy. So maybe he goes to the practice squad. Maybe somebody tries to claim him. We'll see about that one. Doesn't change anything for this team. None of these cuts really change anything for this squad. So we'll move on. The Saints, James Robinson. That's interesting, I suppose. Well, it's more Jordan Mims. Obviously, Jordan Mims made the team. And he's, RB3 with a little bit of upside, I suppose. But nothing really major there. Samson Nakua had a big play, big splash play. That was good to see. Obviously, they're going to try to keep him on the practice squad, and we'll see what happens there. But nothing major. The Buccaneers, nothing really to see here. Cody Thompson, that one kind of hurt because he was having a really good preseason. I'm sure he goes to their practice squad, but if anybody's super needy for a slot wide receiver, Cody Thompson might be worth taking a look at for some of these teams. Not that he's fantasy relevant. Wrapping it up here, Arizona Cardinals, Desmond Ridder. How the mighty have fallen. If you want to call him mighty, obviously you probably don't want to call him mighty, but that hurts. Clayton Tune beats him out, and Ritter's on the street. Maybe a practice squad, probably practice squad quarterback. Michael Carter, they saw enough of him to cut him. So they were saying we didn't play him because we saw enough of him in the practices, and we didn't like what we saw, so he's cut. So we'll see if he ends up on another team or what happens there. Nothing else to see with the wide receivers. Rams, Zach Evans, practice squad. Boston Scott, probably gone. Nothing else to really see here. It's realistically the top 4 wide receivers with Whittington. Other than that, there's really nothing major. Obviously, the Ram stuff would be Kyron Williams is going to be their punt returner, sounds like, this year. A lot of people are making it sound like that's like a death sentence for Kyron Williams. I'm not too concerned about it. You see that with a lot of wide receivers that are the punt returner as well. That doesn't, knock them down at all. Obviously, like if he has a big run, like a big return, then yeah, maybe he gets a breather and Corum comes in. But I don't think this really like kills his value. I'm kind of indifferent with this news. I don't really care. I'll take some falling value on Kyron Williams. But yeah, I'm not too worried about it at all. I think that, like I've been saying a lot over the summer here, if I'm drafting Kyron Williams, there's a very, 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 very strong chance that I'm backing it up with Blake Corum regardless, because I'm just going to lock down the running back in this offense. It's a great spot to be. The running back for the LA Rams is a good position to be in. So I'm just locking it down. Copy paste dates. There you go. I think McVay might be trolling. Maybe. I don't think Sean McVay gives a shit what anybody thinks of him or his decisions or anything like that. So yeah, he could just be fucking with the beat reporters and at his press conference. But again, I don't you see it with wide receivers all the time where they are the punt returner as well. So I don't think it's a huge problem, and I'll take some falling value. We'll see what happens in tonight's draft where he goes. That's someone I'm going to keep an eye on in this draft we do in just a couple minutes here. San Francisco 49ers, Matt Breida, whatever, Cody Schrader, practice squad, Danny Gray, practice squad, Tay Martin, practice squad. Nothing to see here. Logan Thomas, he's getting a little long in the tooth. Probably wasn't going to make this team regardless. So nothing to really see there. Seattle Seahawks, I believe this is the last team. D. Eskridge, I thought he might make this team as the punt returner, kick returner, and then like wide receiver 6 or something. But obviously they move on from him, probably practice squad. And that's about it. That's pretty much all we got there. Nothing to really see. No real big movers there. But we're going to jump over to Underdog and get into this Best Ball Mania draft. Draft number 141 is what we're on. So on the road to 150, obviously. We got 10 more drafts. If you're in the chat and you want to see some exposures to some of this news, maybe generic Prince, I have a little bit more than I would like for sure. Zero AJ Dillon. If you want to see some of my exposures, just put it in the chat. Let me know. I'm happy to share it. But we're going to jump in this Best Ball Mania. Waiting on 10, waiting on 9. So we got a little bit of time to kill. Nothing major, but we'll see. We'll see where Kyren Williams goes because he's been moving up. He's been a bit of a yo-yo all kind of summer. He started at the 1-2 turn, which was wild, and that was where I was not going to be picking Kyren Williams. I'm only at, what am I at here? I guess we'll wait until it's got to load the draft hacker. Here we go. We'll see what my percentage is. I think about like 4 or 5% Kyren Williams. So we'll see. Copy paste dates asks, what are my exposures on Panthers? Let's take a quick look before I pick in the 8 spots. I don't mind that. Let's take a look. Let's go just Best Ball Mania. Or do you want everything? But let's do Best Ball Mania first, and then maybe we could do everything. So 140. Let's go Panthers. Chuba Hubbard, I'm a huge fan of. Everybody knows. Big fan of Chuba Hubbard. Xavier Legette. Jonathan Brooks, nothing crazy. I pick him when it makes sense, when there's value to me. I'm not reaching. I'm not pulling him up draft boards. I'm taking falling value on Jonathan Brooks and have been all summer. So that's where I'm at there. Nothing crazy on Breece Hall. Jonathan Mingo a couple times when he's getting some buzz. Deontay Johnson, I keep talking about wanting to take more of him, but it's just a weird spot in the draft. So there you go. There's my my Panthers exposure in Best Ball Mania. I guess we could do all quickly and just take a look if you want. Chuba Hubbard, tons of money on him, and that's basically it. A little more Deontay Johnson in some other cheaper tournaments, it looks like. There you go. Well, let's get back into this draft room. I'm on the clock and it's slow. So here we go. In the 8 hole, Coupe Dubois. Don't know who that is, but maybe you've drafted with him. Russian Collusion. I've seen that name because it's funny. Where are we at here? Chase Brown goes at 5. Bijan gets pulled up. Breece Hall or Justin Jefferson. Probably going to be Breece Hall for me, hopefully. I want to increase my exposure to Breece a little bit, but he probably goes here. He's moved ahead of Justin Jefferson. I guess that's not shocking. We've been seeing Breece Hall go, 2nd overall, 3rd overall, that sort of thing. And there he goes. So it's either Justin Jefferson or AJ Brown for me. Both have 9%. Let's see where I'm at. I'm going to go with AJ Brown. Let's get some more AJ Brown in my life. That's huge value on Justin Jefferson at 9th overall, but to me, it's close. To me, it's really, really close. What do we got here? I have pick 6 in 10-man Best Ball Home League, 10-man league, underdog roster and scoring. Should I go Breeze? Pick 6. Underdog scoring. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. 10-man. Are running backs typically pulled up in your leagues? They usually are in most home leagues. So if a guy like Breece Hall is there, then yeah, I could definitely go ahead and take him. With how many elite running backs there are not, right? There's only like 3 real elite running backs, and it's the 3 first rounders. I don't put Saquon up there with Breeze, Bijan, and McCaffrey. I don't put Gibbs. It would probably be Jonathan Taylor, and then that's pretty much it. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with taking Breece Hall, and then you can, in a 10-man, you can catch up pretty organically at wide receiver, in my opinion. So there you go. That I don't mind that pick at all. Obviously, it'd be between him and Amon-Ra probably for me. Where are we going here? I have a lot of, but I'm probably going to do it because he's just my favorite click, and the exposures here will obviously tell you who it is. It's got to be Deebo Samuel. It's got to be Deebo here. I've been clicking him all summer. I'm part of the problem with why he's risen so far on draft boards. Started in the, mid to late 20s early in the season, but I started taking him personally at the 1-2 turn, the old Gibbs Deebo. I started that long time ago. So now he's getting, I don't know if I started that, but I started doing that myself a long time ago, and I'm kind of not doing that now. But yeah, he's one of my highest exposed players, Deebo Samuel. I've been saying it all summer. I've been saying it since the big board in February. I think, Deebo Samuel is the RB2. Deebo Samuel is the backup running back in San Francisco. I've been saying this for months and months and months, and it finally seems like it's catching on, especially with Elijah Mitchell getting cut, which we didn't even really talk about. I have, I think I have 2 shares of Elijah Mitchell in Best Ball Mania. So that sucks, I suppose. But I've got a fair amount of Jordan Mason. Kyron Williams, 3%. So not upset about that. 3% Best Ball Mania, 2% in all tournaments. So I'm fine with that. And if he falls, if he falls to 32, I guess, yeah, I take him. Yeah, I would take him there. And then definitely bring it back with Blake Corum later in the draft. But let's see Elijah Mitchell. 1%. So yeah, I think I have 2 shares, and then 2% total. Copy paste dates asked, do you do DFS or just best ball? I do DFS, but I don't stream DFS. I get just way too busy in my personal professional life. Over the winter, I sell tires, and I live in Canada. So winter tires, winter in Canada, it gets pretty busy. So I found out last year that I can't stream during, the NFL season. So I'll be wrapping this show up actually after this week. Realistically, once the season starts, I'll be done streaming until playoff best ball. Once the playoffs start or playoff best ball drafting starts, I'll turn the channel back on for a few weeks. We'll get through that, and then it's a month or so of a kind of delay while the NFL playoffs are going on. And then once the big board gets going, then we're hot and heavy. We're drafting weekly at the very least, if not a couple times a week. But yeah, I just found out that it's just not going to happen during the NFL season. I just get way too busy. But I do play DFS. I just don't stream it or anything like that. There goes Kyron. I would have absolutely taken him right there. But I do want to continue to increase my Pacheco exposure. So that's a pretty easy click for me right here. I should probably get more Mike Evans, but I just don't feel like it's necessary, especially with what I have going on right now with this build. I think it makes more sense to take Isaiah Pacheco here. So there you go. Mike Evans is great value, though. This guy is getting, no, not this guy. Who got, wow, Justin Jefferson at 10. That's amazing. If he got, if Big Rig here got Mike Evans, that would be some pretty amazing value. But pick 10 for Justin Jefferson, that's pretty money. That's pretty money. But yeah, if you're in the chat, just popping on, copy paste dates. First time I've seen you. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for coming in. Hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you like the content. Like I said, I will be done streaming for a couple months in about a week here, but I will be back, and we draft all summer. So I draft all summer for sure. Stream 1, 2, 3 times a week. I've done pre-NFL draft. I did 173 big board drafts total, those types of pre-draft. And then since the NFL draft, we're at we'll hit probably 320, something like that. So, about 500 drafts throughout the draft cycle. Not that I stream every single one, obviously, but I get pretty heavy volume throughout the summer. So what are we going to do here? Probably Jalen Hurts. I just have to continue to increase my exposure to Jalen Hurts. I will not be able to forgive myself if I'm not at least as close as I can get to the field. This 4% is nowhere near intentional at all. I've been saying it for weeks. So I have to get more Jalen Hurts. And obviously I want to with AJ Brown, because I've been early in the draft cycle, I was taking too much AJ Brown and then even backing it up with Saquon Barkley and then piling on Cowboys for that week 17 correlation. So I need to get more Hurts, AJ Brown while I only have a few more bullets left. So there we go. Pat Daddy, one of the MVPs of the chat. At least you don't have an idiot like I did last night. He took 10 RBs, including Benson in round 1, got the draft canceled this morning. Yeah, I hate that. I hate that. It's what's worse is when it's super close and you don't want to just put it on auto draft, right? So then it's a huge waste of time, massive piss off. Typically just screenshot it and go on Twitter and tag Hope Bishop, former streamer, now works on with Underdog, and she'll make sure it kind of gets canceled in due time. I had one posted on Twitter. I didn't even tag her. She reached out to me. We follow each other though. She reached out to me and said, yeah, obviously just put it on auto draft. Don't worry about it. It'll get canceled. And I think it was canceled like before the night was over, sort of thing. So that's what I suggest when that happens. It's super annoying. It doesn't happen a crazy amount in Best Ball Mania. It's always those $3 ones, the schnauzers and shit like that, where people just get ridiculous or maybe think it will go unnoticed. I don't know, but it's really stupid. And it drives me absolutely fucking banana when you see it. It just doesn't make any sense because there's no way in the world that it doesn't get canceled, right? But whatever, you still see it. So where are we at here? So start AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, Isaiah Pacheco, and Jalen Hurts. Definitely need to bring in a Cowboy at some point. It'd be nice to get another 49er if I could bring it back with George Kittle and then maybe Jameson Williams. Maybe I take Isaiah Williams, talking about him early, pre-show, pre-draft. Maybe I take Isaiah Williams, who made the team. We'll see. Maybe a Steeler, Pittsburgh Steeler. Did Pickens go? Yes, he did. Wow, that's a reach up almost for Pickens. But I guess he's building it with the Kansas City, I suppose. Probably if you're gonna reach up for Rashee Rice, why don't you take Patrick Mahomes? That doesn't make tons of sense to me, but you got a gift in Justin Jefferson at 10th overall, and you might squander it, but we'll see. We will see. I'd like to go wide receiver here, but if Dalton Kincaid's there, I'll probably click him, and he should be. There's no reason why he won't be there. Yeah. You can't let the Josh Allen drafter get Dalton Kincaid that late. I'm just way too high on Kincaid. Way too high on Kincaid to let him fall. He's going to have every opportunity to be tight end 1 this season, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'll continue to gobble up shares and get different combinations of Dalton Kincaid. I talk about it all the time. I don't I have some hard takes and some high exposures, Ty Chandler, Chuba Hubbard, but I want to get tons of combinations with those players as well. If I'm fine with the exposure, which I absolutely am on all of those players, Dalton Kincaid included, then I want to make sure I've got a ton of different exposures and a ton of different options with those players. So I'm going to continue to do that for my last few bullets here. And just trying to round out my exposure, right? That's really all I'm doing with these last, kind of few bullets that I have, just round out my exposure and lower some exposures to some of the players that I took a little bit too much of. Deneric Prince. But my Isaac Guerrero shares are alive. They are alive. So that's nice to see with Elijah Mitchell getting cut. Obviously, the 2 times I took Elijah Mitchell, not the end of the world, but it still does sting a little bit, I suppose. Do I take Fat Keenan over Roma Dunze, or do I take Roma Dunze over Fat Keenan, I should say? I'm going to take Keenan Allen if he's there. If not, then I take Roma Dunze. David Montgomery wouldn't be a terrible click here either. That actually makes a fair amount of sense. There goes Roma Dunze. So it's Keenan Allen or David Montgomery, but it's got to be Keenan Allen. It's got to be Keenan Allen for me. I need to up that exposure. Well, I don't know if I need to or not, but I'd like to. I'm happy to up that exposure. And that brings in the possibility of getting Caleb Williams on this team as well. So we'll see what shakes out here. Yeah, the Fat Keenan kind of fodder is interesting. It's interesting. I don't well, I don't know why or how that came out. Honestly, the guy has been nothing but a consummate professional, for years and years and years, like a decade in the league. And all of a sudden he's just decided to put on the pounds and be just some fat slob that, can't run up and down the field, can't get open, whatever. I don't think so. I find that hard to believe. So I've been trying to gobble up as much, fat Keenan shares as I can get. It's interesting that narrative that kind of came out. I don't even really know why or how. Kittle would have been an all right click there too, to bring back with my Deebo Samuel and then maybe get a late Jameson Williams, but it's not necessary. And I have so much of that game stacked up and just players in that game. So I'm kind of trying to diversify away from that game as well a little bit. Like I said, about kind of rounding out my exposures. I definitely don't need to force stuff like that. That's for sure. But we'll see. Jameson Williams still a perfectly fine click in this build. Obviously, he correlates with everything I have going on. So it still makes a lot of sense to click Jameson Williams here. And then I guess it does open the door for Brock Purdy and just have the single stack Deebo, Purdy, and then a Jameson Williams bring back is perfectly fine. But we'll see what kind of shakes out here. Because it's probably Jake Ferguson is probably, I mean, it's definitely not necessary. It's one of these two, though. That's for sure. Najee makes sense in this build. I don't know. I still think Jaylen Warren would be the preferred click here. Again, I'm bringing it back on the Philly game here. So this is something we talked about last night. Najee or Jaylen Warren. If I'm bringing it back, which I am in against Philadelphia, I'm not worried about the Kansas City bring back. That's not why I would prefer Jaylen Warren. It's because of the Philly bring back in week 15. Hopefully it helps advance, but we'll see. Man, Alvin Kamara, that's a nice discount. 89. That's a nice discount on Alvin Kamara. That's a really nice discount. 9 picks. I am perfectly fine clicking Alvin Kamara. Yeah, that's he's getting up there in age, I suppose, but I'm not concerned about Alvin Kamara at all. I could still get Rico Dowdle from the Cowboys. I can't pass up the value on Kamara when I have exposure to both of these players. I don't need to force it at all. let's go Alvin Kamara and just hope that I can get one of those two to fall back to me. Sam Laporta drafter is here. He could absolutely take Jameson Williams. Someone can definitely go Jake Ferguson and Dak right here. So if Jake Ferguson makes it, there you go. There goes Jake Ferguson. So Rico Dowdle kind of moves up a little bit on my draft board. I would kind of really rather get Jameson Williams anyways. So 87 could be a Dak Prescott pick. Makes tons of sense if he does. He is correlating a little bit. So, hopefully there goes Jameson Williams. All right. So, copy paste dates. I'll get to that in just a second here. I need to think about what I want to do. It's got to be Jaylen Warren, I guess. Unless I want to go Cortland Sutton, up my exposure there, or I could go DeAndre Hopkins. There goes Warren. Okay. Not drafting Jones or Mostert personally. They're just pretty much off my board. Could Swift and then feel like I have to back it up with Caleb Williams. I might just go Cortland Sutton, I guess. Get some exposure there. Yeah, let's go Cortland Sutton. And then that brings the possibility, if I need to, Bo Nix. I'm not really concerned about the Saints stinking for Alvin Kamara. I mean, the team is going to be pretty bad, I think. I think honestly, it's on the table for the Saints to be one of, if not the worst team in the NFL. I think they will stink. Yeah. But the amount of, targets and just the amount that Alvin Kamara is on the field and how much better he is than everyone else on that team, wide receivers included, except for, I guess, Chris Olave. But he's going to get the run. He's going to get the targets. He's going to get the passing work. So if they're getting their asses kicked every game, he's going to be on the field catching passes, right? So if I'm taking a running back from a shitty team, it better be the pass catcher. And Alvin Kamara is one of the better pass catching running backs in the entire NFL. He's shown it throughout his entire career. The hope would be that Talisi Fuaga and, hopefully Trevor Penning, after another year moving to the right side, they can figure out the tackle positions. And then they've always been pretty responsible in the offensive line. Obviously they had their issues last year, but if Fuaga can hold down the left tackle spot and Trevor Penning can be the guy that they drafted him to be, then they should be okay to run the ball. Clint Kubiak coming in. Running backs eat in Clint Kubiak offenses. They have since his dad, what's his first name? Gary, I want to say. Kubiak, whatever his dad's name was, from the Shanahan tree as well a little bit. So I like the potential for running backs in that offense, especially pass-catching running backs. So I'm not taking a lot of Saints. We can dig into that. I do take Derek Carr a little bit, 6%, 4% total. He's kind of my last viable option when I'm doing 3 quarterback builds. Kamara, you just saw 13%. Maybe that gets to 14% or so, stays at 13%, whatever. A.T. Perry, I was drafting a lot early in this draft cycle, so 8% now. That's fallen a ton. Olave, I'm not too high on, 6% as well. So I'm not drafting a crazy amount of Saints. But if I'm getting one of them, it's going to be Alvin Kamara. So yeah, there we go. That's how I feel about the whole team and Kamara specifically. So a lot of running backs in this range, which is why I kind of really wanted to take Cortland Sutton with that last pick, because this kind of running back, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not a cliff, but this running back kind of area in the draft shows up. I could still take Caleb Williams here for sure. That's certainly on the table. And then I don't have to wait too many picks before I could get, Rico Dowdle. Brian Robinson Jr. is on the table. Chase Brown, if he's there, which I doubt he is. So let's clean up quarterback, get that out of the way with Caleb Williams. There's not a wide receiver in this range that I'm too excited about at all. And I can get a running back with my next pick. So let's go Caleb Williams. Pair him up with Fat Keenan. I can bring in Cole Kmet, which is probably something I will look at doing for my tight end too, and then be done at tight end as well. And then I can back it up with another running back here before this kind of running back cliff dries up and falls off sort of thing. There's tons of options in this range for running back, and it'll definitely be Rico Dowdle, obviously, to pair up with my my Eagles in week 17. Helps out on my bye weeks as well. Looks good. Not that that's a concern at all, but it does help a little bit. Jonathan Brooks is probably going to fall. If he falls to me here and Dowdle's not there, I will take him. Zach Moss, I'll take. I'll take Tajay Spears. I'll take Singletary above Spears, I suppose. Jerome Ford, who I'm a huge fan of, 18%. I'll take over Spears, and I'll probably take over Singletary. Yeah. It's kind of how we're looking. I'd like to get a few more shares of Zach Moss. 4% isn't quite enough for me. And there goes Jerome Ford. He's going to move up with the Nick Chubb news and the Deontay Foreman news. I'm happy that I have as many shares as I do, at the point in the draft that I do as well. I don't remember what my average ADP on Jerome Ford is, but it's healthy. I think it's in the, I want to say 130s, high 120s even. Maybe high 120s, maybe 130s, I think. But Rico Dowdle, easy click. Easy click. I'm not concerned about Samaje fucking Perine going to the Cowboys at all. Yeah, I agree with this. That's where I've gotten my shares of my 5% of Jonathan Brooks, is not only when he's my RB3 or 4, but when he's also falling. So, if I get a falling Brooks, I'll take a shot on him. That's pretty well the only time I've taken Jonathan Brooks shares, unless I was bringing it up with, like a Mike Evans for week 17 correlation, but I was never reaching. None of my shares did I reach for Jonathan Brooks. And it was certainly like you have here, same thing, third, fourth running back, something like that. That's where it makes sense to take a guy like Jonathan Brooks. If you didn't think he was going to start the season on the pup, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you about your choices. But we're done at quarterback, which is good. I would like to bring in Cole Kmet. I'm not worried about Gerald Everett personally. I like Cole Kmet a lot more. My 6% will tell you that. 8% in in all tournaments, across all tournaments. I do need to take a look at some wide receivers, obviously, but this is, a range where I like to start looking at it again, so I can get rid of the quarterback position, because I will not be selecting another quarterback no matter what. But Jalen Polk, Gabe Davis are on the table here for me. No need to worry about or look at bye weeks or anything like that. So it's who I like more. Exposure wise, let's get some more Jalen Polk. If not, I will take Gabe Davis if I kind of have to. If not, I like Trey Benson. 15% is getting a little heavy for me with Trey Benson. I don't mind being ahead of the field at all. I don't mind being 12%, but 16% Trey Benson's getting a little aggressive for me. So I really don't want to click him, but I think I would take him over Austin Eckler. I think I would put Eckler there as well, just in case. 6% Eckler. Let's just hope I get one of these wide receivers, preferably Jalen Polk. That also gives me, well, I don't need the option anymore, never mind, but I do want to catch up a few Jalen Polk shares. I think by the end of the season, honestly, I think by the end of the season, him and Javon Baker. I don't think Javon Baker's dead in any way. I think Polk and Javon Baker with Drake May by the end of the season is going to make that offense pretty tolerable to watch. Pretty exciting to watch, to be honest with you. But that means I got to pick off some more Jalen Polk shares, and there you go. There you go. So 137. I guess I could still get Gabe Davis potentially. Not likely. Could get Benson. Eckler went before I picked. Wow. Interesting. There goes Gabe Davis. Trey Benson certainly on the board. None of these wide receivers really do much for me. I could bring in Jahan Dotson, but my 20%, loving him, loving the Washington Commanders offense. I don't like that at all. I still might have to take him, unfortunately, just because I don't have it. Well, maybe I do have it with A.J. Brown. I just don't have a ton of Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown at all. Let's take a quick peek, if I could, at my spike week. I'm going to do that because I'm just too curious. And I don't want to take Jahan Dotson if I don't have to. I really, really don't. So let's take a quick peek at the spike week tool and see how many times I have A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, and if I have Jahan Dotson with them. So it's loading. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. I only have them paired 4 times. And with Jahan Dotson, twice. Jake Ferguson's in there. Dak Prescott, Brandon Cooks. I don't have it with Dowdle. Hopefully someone just took him. No, someone did take Trey Benson. Don't really need or want to take Ty Chandler here. Don't need to force it. Jerry Jeudy. I just don't like taking in any way. But that's what I'm going to do. Let's take Jerry Jeudy here. A little bit of falling value, basically a full round. A little more than a full round of value on Jerry Jeudy. I only have 1%. Get some exposure. Yeah, I don't love the click. I've never been a fan of Jerry Jeudy personally. Never been a fan of Jerry Jeudy. The fact that he got drafted before CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson is absolute madness to me. And I said exactly that at the time, especially CeeDee Lamb. Obviously Justin Jefferson too, but at the time, I thought CeeDee Lamb was by far wide receiver 1 in that draft. And I do have a video in the channel, so you can go watch that mock draft from that year. I thought that was total madness that Jerry Jeudy went ahead of CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, but honestly, mostly it was CeeDee Lamb. So this will if Cole Kmet's not there, I'll be forced to take Jahan Dotson. I really don't want to, but I will to mix in that exposure with Dowdle. You know, I don't have a share of Hurts, A.J. Brown, Dowdle. I don't have that at all. So, and I definitely don't have it with Jahan Dotson. So I do have 2 shares of Hurts, Dotson, Brown, but nothing to do with, you know, Dotson being on the Eagles. It was more him on the Eagles. So hopefully Cole Kmet's there and I can just take Cole Kmet. But he is the top tight end right now, so it's going to be easier said than done. And there's a little bit of a, not necessarily a cliff, but there's a little bit of a drop off here after Cole Kmet. So we'll see. Falling Justin Herbert still there. I won't be taking him, so that's fine. I guess if Jahan Dotson and Kmet aren't there, are both gone. I don't know. Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving. It's a really weird spot in the draft. Could go Jalen Tolbert and bring a double bring back into play against my Eagles. If Kmet's gone and I get Dotson, then I will very much want Jalen Tolbert with my 161 pick for sure. That almost might be the play, actually. There goes Tolbert. Interesting. So I think Kmet should be there. Oh, wow. Maybe not. He needs to take a third tight end, in my opinion, which this is just bad process. This is bad strategy for me. But there we go. Cole Kmet, make it easy. And then if Jahan Dotson falls, I'll take him. I'll be fine to take him. But I'm done at tight end. I'm done at quarterback. Yep, I'm happy enough with that. I don't think 5 running backs is in play. I think I have to take 6. Yeah, I think I have to take 6 with who's remaining. I will take Dotson. I will take Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving. Jalen McMillan would be on the table. That's about it, really, for this pick anyways. So, yeah, if Dotson falls into my lap, I'll begrudgingly just click it. Little bit of, half a round of value, I suppose, but he is falling in ADP. I have way too much exposure to Jahan Dotson, if I'm being honest. It's just, and I knew this would happen. I said this a couple episodes ago that, with me having to get more Jalen Hurts and wanting and needing and executing on getting more Jalen Hurts intently, it's going to lead to me getting more Jahan fucking Dotson that I don't want in my portfolio, but I kind of just have to. And that's really unfortunate. Well, maybe not. Maybe he leads to me winning Best Ball Mania. So let's take Jahan Dotson. Let's close our eyes and click his name. Super frustrating. Really don't want to do that. That's really ugly to me. This is 2-6-8-2 all day type of a roster construction. I do want Kamani Vidal. I've slowed down. I'm down to 10%, which is good, but I can start clicking his name again now that we've gotten some positive news. Elijah Mitchell is completely DED dead. Carson Steele, I would take if I didn't have Pacheco. I still haven't gotten a share, which is annoying, especially now that we know he's made the roster. That's really annoying. I need to force in some Carson Steele. My Eric Gray shares are alive, but on life support, 14% is crazy. Dylan Laube, 4%. I'm happy with that. He made the team. That's good to see. Talvin Cook. Isaac Garendo, my 9% probably end at 7 or 8%. They're on life support, but they're alive. They're living. We'll see how that ends up. Trace Sermon, it's no longer Evan Hull, that's for sure. 5%. That really hurts. Probably going to end up on the practice squad, though, like I said. But Tyler Goodson is somewhat kind of on the table to be drafted. Emmanuel Wilson, like I talked about pre-show, he's kind of there. He's you could do worse. You could definitely do worse. Yeah, you did. I see my boy Q coming up. Actually took him to Cornell share today. What's your exposure, Putt Daddy, to Quentin Johnston? 10% is where I'm at now. 10% across Best Ball Mania and all drafts. And that actually makes sense for me to click him, but I want Kamani Vidal more in what I have going on in this structure. But what's your exposure in either one? Overall, what's your exposure to Quentin Johnston? Because he's a click now. He's getting some positive buzz again. I think he's a click. I'm happy with my 10%. I'm happy to be just above the field. I don't want to be 20% Quentin Johnston, that's for sure. But I'm happy to be above the field. I'm happy to be over 8% Quentin Johnston. But I won't get crazy. I'll take him where it makes sense, and it doesn't make sense in this build, particularly. While Braylon Allen's really fallen, and Bucky Irving, I'll take both of them for sure. That's crazy. If I can get 176 Braylon Allen, is he falling because of that? The Jordan Mason news? Is that why Braylon Allen's falling? That's insane to me. I'll take more shares of Braylon Allen. I'm almost at 20% Braylon Allen. I'll just keep clicking his name, I guess. In this instance, I probably do take Kamani Vidal over Bucky Irving. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. But I definitely need to get 2 more running backs, 1 more wide receiver. The wide receiver I'm not worried about at all. Jordan Whittington makes a lot of sense, actually. I might go there and force in some more exposure. He's definitely going to have a role. That's for damn sure. I like me some De'Ami Brown. Trying to increase my exposure there. Denver, didn't I take? I did. Okay. That's weird. Why is he correlating everywhere? That doesn't make a lot of sense. 4 shares of QJ and BBM, 8 total. 105 BBMs. Those are rookie numbers. You need to bump those numbers up. I'm just kidding. If it makes sense, take them. If it doesn't, don't, obviously. But yeah, I don't mind that. Like I'm trying to just stay where I'm at. If I click QJ one more time in my last couple bullets here, I'll be happy with that. I'm not trying to get crazy on QJ, but I'm happy to be at or above the field. I'm not as high on Ladd McConkey as a lot of other people, a lot of other smart people. 6% in Best Ball Mania, 4% across the board. Easy click for Bucky Irving here. I'm really not sure why these running backs are falling, but that's super helpful considering what I've been doing. So that's awesome. That's awesome. I'll take Bucky Irving. That just allowed me to catch right up and avoid any sort of bye week trouble, which is nice. That's just a nice little plus. Doesn't particularly matter, but it's a nice boost. But yeah, if people are bringing up, like, look at Pat Kerrane. Pat Kerrane is exceptionally high on Drake May, and he has a huge bag of Drake May, right? I don't know how you wouldn't have a huge bag of Quentin Johnston with that, right? I would. Obviously he's got a lot of Ladd McConkey, I would imagine, as well, but you got to mix it up, and you got to have both, potentially both in the same draft, in the same pod, and just sell out for that week 17, New England, LA Chargers game. Where is that game, by the way? Let's go Javon Baker. It's in New England. So I don't know. I'm not focusing on that game whatsoever. I'm more worried about, like, my thought process goes, I'm selecting games, and then I draft from the game. I draft from there. I'm not selecting players and then having hard player takes. What I am with certain players, one-off players, but that doesn't make me draft the entire team and stack that game because I like one player, right? That just doesn't make sense. But I'm selecting games and then go from there. Indoor games preferably, warm weather games preferably, and 2 good offenses. If there's bad defenses, cool, but 2 good offenses. And then I go about it that way. So I'm not super high on that Chargers-Patriots game week 17. I do have some exposure to it. That's part of the reason why I have so much Quentin Johnston. But Yeah, it's not a game that I'm really focused on personally. It's probably definitely going to be one of these two. Wow, how do I not take DeMarcus Robinson if he falls? How's there? It's get your guys season. That's for sure. It is get your guys saison. Justin Fields, interesting. Sure, why not? That's I don't like that pick personally. I'm happy with Jaden Daniels and Purdy personally. What are you getting from Justin Fields that you don't get from Jaden Daniels? This running back room is pretty rugged. Interesting. I would have taken, more running backs, more wide receivers. It is get your guys season. Makes too much sense to not just take DeMarcus Robinson here. I'd like to get more exposure to Jordan Whittington, and that's where I would have went if Wandale and DeMarcus Robinson were off the board, which they, in theory, ADP-wise, they absolutely should have been. Then I would have taken Jordan Whittington in a New York second. But there's my 8 wide receivers. Now, what do I throw a dart at for running back? Cam Akers? Do I dare? Do I dare throw a dart at Cam Akers, old ass? His destroyed knees and Achilles. Dylan Laube. Maybe makes a little bit of sense here. I guess Trey Sermon would make some sense. That's a really tough click for me. Manuel Wilson. I think Tyler Goodson isn't the worst process. It's dry out there in the running back, landscape. That's for sure. But I think those are my options. I guess Cam Akers is an option as well, but I don't want to be clicking that if I'm being honest with you. Wow. I mean, dare I take Emmanuel Wilson? Yeah, I kind of dare it, I guess. Trey Sermon. I just don't trust Trey Sermon. I can't do it. I'd rather take Tyler Goodson if I'm being honest, but I don't think I'm going to go there. Cam Akers has looked good. Fuck it, man. Let's take it. I've always liked Cam Akers. I've always liked him. And he has looked good. Joe Mixon is not. I've never been a fan of Joe Mixon. Never, ever. As a Bengals fan, I've never been a fan of Joe Mixon. And Jawar Jordan's looking like he's going to be on the practice squad. Dameon Pierce just ain't it. If I'm throwing a dart, let's throw a dart at Cam Akers. So in a BBM 2 days ago, Karain was in my draft and he took McConkey, Douglas, and Bourne. Did he back it up with Drake May or did he get sniped on it? But Bourne, I don't think Bourne makes any sense in the world. I just said it earlier in this show and I've been saying it all summer. I'll stick to it. That's my firm belief with the New England Patriots. And when you saw it in preseason, that was the most electric they looked. When Drake May was at quarterback, Javon Baker was on the outside, and Jalen Polk on the other side. That's when they looked their best. They're most dangerous, right? So that's what I think it's going to look like at the end of the season. I think they're just trying to, there's no way you can convince me that Tyquan Thornton is better than Javon Baker. You cannot convince me of that, period. And you cannot convince me that Kendrick Bourne is a better wide receiver than Jalen Polk. So, yeah, Douglas in the slot, Pop Douglas in the slot, Polk and Baker on the outside. You got 3 super young wide receivers and then a rookie quarterback. Just go out there and throw the ball a million times and see what happens. But he had 3 quarterbacks and May was one of them. Yeah, it better be if you're stacking up that game like that. But yeah, Pat Kerrane, he's won Best Ball Mania, so he knows what he's doing. That's for damn sure. I just am not that high on that game specifically. Drake May is good. He can run. He's got that rushing potential. I do have some shares. While we're here, let's take a look. What am I, I don't want to just talk shit or talk nonsense here. I've got 3.9% Drake May. How much of that is in Best Ball Mania? 3.6. So most of it is in Best Ball Mania, more or less. So it's not like I hate Drake May and I'm not drafting him. That's for sure, especially with how much I have of Baker, because he's probably on this list. There you go. He's on my top list right there. Javon Baker, big fan. I do need to get more Polk, which I just did in this last draft. But it's mostly because I'm bringing back my Buffalo stacks with Javon Baker, Gibson and Baker, potentially Hunter Henry and Baker, Henry and Gibson, that sort of a thing. And as Polk was rising, he just kind of slipped through my fingers, but it is what it is. So there you go. There you go, guys. I'm going to do one more draft, not on stream. I'm going to do one more draft tonight, but I'm trying to even everything out. I'll probably be back tomorrow night unless something comes up. I'm getting married in about a week, so it's getting pretty down to crunch time. I'm pretty busy. Plus, I got to wrap up these Best Ball Manias, so it's getting pretty busy for me. But I'm going to try to finish strong in the draft cycle. This is pretty much my last week of streaming before we're done for the NFL season. I will be available on Twitter at any time. Hit me up on Twitter. Link my ad is right here. But like I always say, we'll sign it off. Hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe, all that. Thanks, guys, for coming out. Like we always say on Off the Schneid, if you're afraid to be wrong, you'll never be right. Hopefully tonight we were right. We'll see you on the next stream. Have a good one.